maybe we can continue without her until she has the things. So I will present myself, introduce myself. I am Andrea from Germany. It's sunny today, which it hasn't been for a long time. So very happy. As some of you already know, I started knowing about John Finnemore through the David Mitchell soapbox, and then got into Cabin Pressure and everything else, and just love his very kind style. And I'm looking forward to the music round, because I really think there should be something like a little John Finnemore songbook for everything. Is just an earworm that can't be taken out. Okay, Morris, do you want to continue?
Well, I'm Morris. I'm from Edinburgh. A John Finnemore fan from more than anything else from the sketch show, which just amazes me about how clever and ingenious he is all the time. I think he's just the cleverest person you ever hear on the radio, and the series has definitely backed up that opinion. That's all, really. I just love it. So, like everyone else here, I guess.
How about you, Chris?
I'm from South Australia. It's the middle of winter here, and it's a dark and cold night. And I got into Cabin Pressure through a friend on Twitter who raved about it, and now I have the box sets of that, and then I started exploring other things.
Nice. Hi, Dawn. Do you hear us?
Hi, I can now hear you. I figured go back to computer basics, try turning it off and on again. Left a room, came back, and I can hear you.
Yay! Okay, I give it back to you.
Right. Has anybody introduced themselves?
No, Caroline is
Caroline.
Exactly. Caroline, sorry.
Hi, I'm Caroline. I'm in Ely in East Anglia in the UK.
Oh, Caroline, off you go.
And I've been listening to and enjoying John Finnemore's work since Cabin Pressure.
And Davey?
Yeah, hi, Davey. So currently in Taipei, where it's just turned to nighttime, but originally from Bristol, and a bit of time in London, where I had the pleasure to see the pre-recordings in the cigar box for some of the previous series of Souvenir Program. And, been following his work since Cabin Pressure, I guess.
Cool. Maurice, you're still having some feedback.
So that's everybody. If we move a little bit on to the music. Oh. I don't know if it's worth trying my tech technique of leave a room and come back, and because that seemed to improve things for me.
We are hearing you just fine now. It's just sometimes it just breaks up, and sometimes we can hear you. It's a little bit weird.
I'll switch my video off because that seemed to help before. I think I'm on a little Chromebook, and I think it's struggling slightly to cope. So I think the less I ask it to do, the better. Mm-hmm. So I'll ask it to cope with audio, but not visual. Right, shame because it's very nice to be able to actually see people's faces, but never mind, can't be helped. So yes, I don't know if anyone's got any particular thoughts they want to kick off with on the music side of things.
Something I would really like to know. Oh,
sorry, I think I can.
Something I would really like to know is what order he wrote the different versions of the song in, the Wolfhound song. I guess that's my question for when we get a chance to ask questions.
Oh, that's a good question. We'll definitely make one of them. That's great. Yeah, because yes, do you start with the original Nightingale and Noon version, or with the peer pressure and work backwards, or somewhere in the middle? I don't really know how. I've never heard him particularly talk about his songwriting process as to, because I know he works with Susanna, I feel terrible, I've forgotten her surname, who does the piano, or Susanna on piano.
Pierce, I think.
Sorry. But I don't know sort of how the writing process works for him.
I think I've heard him say that he'll do the lyrics, but Susanna Pierce will do all of the music and the tune to kind of match the lyrics that he's written. Or maybe they just do them independently and put them together, but I don't think he does any of the music directly as well in terms of the tune and stuff. No,
that's the impression I got, but he's, on that side of things, he definitely needs so presumably he just presents the lyrics and gives feedback on what comes back. But I do like the idea of in what order he wrote the various versions of Woof Woof Woof, and at what point he decided he needed a song, or that he wanted a song running through the entire thing, because it would have been easy enough to not have it just have different things each time. But I love the fact that it ties in so well to the series as a whole that you've got this one piece running all the way through. I was going to say, and because the main thing, we've got the fellow with a cello and comfortable men. What, do people enjoy those ones?
Absolutely.
Cello more.
Yeah, the fellow with the cello was great. Absolutely, as well, a direct earworm going with me for the next 2-3 days. And it was also really funny. I thought it just occurred to me that the fellow with the cello is just a fellow with a cello, and then Susanna on piano is really Susanna, which I thought was a very, very nice touch also. So.
Yes, I love the nod over to Susanna Pierce. Thank you to whoever gave me her name. For Susanna on piano. Oh yes, they saved me from Raspberries of Impatience. Yes.
Yes, that was good. And there was that shout out to Cabin Pressure with the fruit, the fruit, dragon fruit.
What was the fruit?
The fruit.
Ah. Now I'm going to try a slightly controversial one because it's critical. I'm a fan of the new theme tune. I sort of understand why he's changed it, but I every time the show starts, there's that little bit of me that goes, oh, what do other people think?
I'm not sure the old one necessarily suits this series, though. It's just a bit too upbeat and jolly. It so suits it normally, but I think here it wouldn't quite be right, and it does kind of mark out as different from the rest of them. But I certainly prefer the other one. I think I have many good memories listening to the other series.
I do agree. The original one, it's just not quite in keeping, and I suppose as the new one, it just, for me, it's a little bit. I hate to say the word, music-y almost. But then equally, because it's such a wide-ranging show of over, I don't know what on earth you could put there. Era specific. It's got to be something broad and general. So I do kind of go, I sort of understand, but yeah, I do also miss the old one, I must admit.
Talking about music, there's also the kind of whatever the introduction is to like the tall tales, like Shaggy Dog Story, the kind of Uncle Newt as he is now. But before the other series, it was just kind of like the long story kind of. So you asked me for, which I think is a pursuit.
Ever since you asked me, Sting.
Yeah. Sure. I know every time as with many people in the first episode, I was going, well, this is nice,
Not so sure. And I did have a happy moment when I heard that little sting of music leading into, since you asked me for a story. The familiarity, I think, did help.
Yeah, it's a sort of a touchstone to the other series. Is kind of like a comfortable connection between them, I suppose.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
I suppose talking about comfortable, there's the other song, "Comfortable Men," which is kind of like a little bit setting up every protest song that each generation has written about the previous one, and they're being told, actually, well, maybe you don't quite know what we went through. It's interesting kind of commentary on generations, which is the whole series really. It's all about generations. So I suppose it fits in nicely with the whole theme of the show. It's about generations commenting on other generations.
Always getting a bit of. Yes, I agree, but the strange noises, not quite. But yeah, but that one of all generations sort of understanding, but not understanding previous generations. There was a bit of chat in one of the groups I was in earlier about, was he trying to pitch it for the programme like That Was a Week That Was, which is satire of the early 60s, or whether he was trying to get a career as a potential satirical comedian. I'm not sure whether that was true or not.
That's the thing that surprises me about the early radio shows that you pick up on Radio 4 Extra and all that, is that every single one from the 50s and 60s had to have 2 musical bits in it. And
yes.
Some of them are quite cringy these days. Even the Goons had to have a musical bit in it.
Oh, I know, because it was. I'm sorry, I'll be that again. We're one of the first ones, I think, to make the music bits part of the actual program. But yes, listening to some of the older ones where here's a comedy sketch and then just here's a random singer, like Round the Hall had them and things like that, didn't they?
So someone told me about with the 2 Ronnies, actually. It was something to do with which budget it came out of. If it had music in, it came out of a different budget to this. So it wasn't the comedy budget, it was like the light entertainment budget. And yeah, I was talking to someone about that because you watch 2 Ronnies, they'd be like, and now a random singer. And I was like, what's that all about? But it turns out it's to do with the money, which is really weird.
The group for Round the Horn, I looked this up, the group for Round the Horn actually only existed in order to play on Round the Horn. Like they didn't have any other existence.
They weren't particularly great either.
That is a fair point, actually, yes.
Sorry, I'm being sat on by a cat.
They had to fill the time, basically, and they could fill the time at no cost.
Yes, so.
No, that's an interesting one on budget. I really enjoyed the saving, having totally forgotten it. Really enjoyed the saving for Raspberries and Patience, partly for the fact it was a teamwork song, but he was sort of collaborating on it with Miller, and I really enjoyed that because I suspect it sort of represents, not even necessarily lyrical side, but the fact that a lot of what he does is sort of, he's a creator, but sort of getting in information and bits and pieces from everywhere and anybody.
Yeah, and the affection that they show one another at the end of it. That was the fact that the teamwork results in this expression of love that they have for one another because it's worked so well together. I thought it was really good.
It reminds me a bit of, there's a Benny Hill song called "A Broken-Hearted Lover's Stew," where he goes through the ingredients, trying to remember. But yeah, basically he uses the ingredients to make comments on the relationship. And it did remind me a bit about that. If you haven't heard it, check it out. But yeah, it's sort of similar kind of feel to it.
Oh, I'd have to look that one up. I don't know that one.
Yeah.
That's got to be the only Benny Hill reference in this whole discussion.
Well, not a natural pairing, because it was. I mean, Benny Hill was very much visual comedy, so they're the kind of opposite end of the spectrum.
Sorry, Robert, could you please write it into the chat because I just missed that.
do that now.
So, does anybody have a favourite version of Woof Woof Woof?
I quite like Jerry's advert pitch. It's my favourite, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do around, partly just because he's not doing a great job of what it's meant to do. But it's a long way through before it's a brand name.
I think it's also the longest version as well, possibly, which is probably why I like it as well.
Yes, you probably think you are. Yeah. I mean, lovely as it was to hear Newt sing it, there is a part of me that wishes we could have heard the original Gally and Susanna version, just to hear Gally do it properly. But equally, I'm really glad we got Newt doing it as well.
I also love the fact that the verse music is the same for the music hall one and the advert one, although it's performed slightly differently, but the tune is basically the same for the verse for Angeline and for Albert Small.
So I'm just being distracted by reading Broken Hearted Lovers. I see what you mean about parallels, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful visual puns.
I also like the version of Deborah, which is absolutely like parallel to everything. It is also like trying to get talking with a baby and at the same time just misremembering everything. So I found it very, very beautiful.
Oh yes, when she's singing it's a lullaby, lovely. Some half-remembered words and yeah, but just that connecting with the next generation, passing it down.
Is this the bit where it turns to a basset hound from a bloodhound? Or the other way around?
I quite like the peer pressure one as well, and the kind of how they're trying to make into about a peace song about the dogs of war and everything, and they're obviously on the diseased brain of our drummer.
Beautiful description, definitely. And he's protesting as they do it.
Oh look, Russell's gone mad.
I did also love that bit where he was saying, well, it's this song. Everybody knows this because it's so easy to do on family things where you just assume, oh, that's normal, isn't it? Everybody does that. And then when you go out to a bigger world and realise your family traditions are not a usual thing, you've got your own little unique quirks and special things.
Yeah, it's one of the big themes, though, kind of running through to some extent. And it's kind of nice to see that reflected in the music as well.
So I'm enjoying the cat as well. Not directly on my songs, but I had to look this up because I did not know it before. But I at Hockett's, which Jerry said accidentally when he was trying to play Harvests in Scrabble. I don't know if people have found the definition of that one. So I don't want to accidentally get it wrong, so I will find it. To the chat, so people could, because yet another one of those little hidden things that John's ridiculous knowledge comes through and shows that this is, well, I think fairly obscure musical definition, but just encompasses the whole of this series. The fact it's one voice flowing through, or the voice changing. Yeah, I do wonder how many other bits there are like that, words that I haven't picked up on. So it sort of reminds me of reading, for me, Terry Pratchett. But every time I read his books, I notice a reference I haven't noticed before, and just think,
yes.
oh, that's so clever. And also, how did I miss that last time?
Is Lavatory Festival a real festival? just a thought easier.
Yeah. Which would
So
make it easier.
yes,
I saw on Twitter someone put a photo up from one of the previous year versions. About that.
I mean, John didn't play it in 2006 or something. Is there there's not a reason that he picked that year for that festival?
I don't know. I'm sure we could go back and find who might have been performing there. I'm not aware. That's the trouble, because there's so much in depth. I'm sure there's some things he must put in as a throwaway line, but I assume there's meaning to every single thing.
Well, yeah, I guess that sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, kind of, to paraphrase, but yes.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's not quite a song, but the Cakes of Pan
directly on music.
The Cakes of Pan is kind of a chant. It's kind of musical.
Because it's in rhythms, hasn't it? I do like that he doesn't make Hiller into total spoil sport. I'm not chanting this time, but I like a chant sometimes. But it plays at ridiculousness, but it doesn't make her into a complete no humorless character. Not too much of a German stereotype, basically.
Oh.
Could I ask a question off topic? How did people find the chat on Twitter about this program? I was a very late comer to this. How did you find it?
Or how did we find what?
For me, it's probably finding other people chatting about it on Twitter. My answer is I follow Simon Kane, and he retweets everything. So that kind of led me into a lot of let me see a lot of conversations. But yeah, it was following Simon Kane more than anyone else. He is such a fanboy; it's marvelous, and he retweets a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Let's say the post chat is saying if anybody has any more questions on any topic whatsoever, said for asking John, then I'll pop them all into the Padlet and they'll choose suitable ones. I'm struggling to think of anything, I must admit.
Should we select something also for this meeting, or
Feedback, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people have been like singing "woof woof woof" randomly? It gets stuck in your head quite easily. I've been like, people ask me, "What are you singing?" And I'm like, "Well, it's this song from this radio show."
We do that a lot. My trouble is I keep getting the dogs mixed up and singing very random and don't always get it very right.
But that's quite fitting in a way, though, to mix them up and change them over time.
True. We'll claim it's homage, not just me being an idiot.
It's in universe. It's part of getting it slightly wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so. We've got a question of which version of Woof 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 did you write first? Our general feedback from the group is we all really enjoyed it. I liked the woof sort of flowing all the way through it in the different versions and how it represents the family.
But it's also then the final item that comes back as well at the very last scene in the last episode as well, is them singing Woof Woof Woof. So it's good. And with his love of a callback is clearly something he knows will be quite memorable and will stick around with people if that's what he's going back to.
Yes, I think it really does. Yeah, the fact it finished on that, how important it is through the entire thing. I think you're right. Anything else, or anyone else has any topic?
The question I've asked in for the Padlet is how much did he draw on his own family experiences? He had like family traditions and so on, quite a rich feeling about this himself in order to be able to draw together such a rich tapestry.
Oh, that's true. That would be interesting if he gives an answer to that one. Yeah.
That's a good one.
I mean, speaking for myself, we don't. I come from a family where I'd love to. I mean, we have nothing like that. I mean, and I do hear from other people that there are families with kind of lots of catchwords and lots of family.
But you don't see them as unusual as I think other people find them as well. Because I've certainly had things where, like, mid-20s, they mentioned it, and people just be like, "What? No one does that." And I've just believed it's the most normal thing in the world. I was also listening to, I was just quickly listening to Inside Number 9 podcast, and them saying where they've brought in their experiences that have gone into episodes, and these are things you just assume they've made up and kind of writers' freedom, when it's actually things that happen to them. And it's amazing how they can bring these in into their work.
It's my birthday at the start of the yes, I was listening. I think I was listening to the same sort of thing.
yeah, like that, and the tangerine in the most recent episode.
Yeah. Closing in 58 seconds, so I will see you all back in the main room. Lovely. Thank you for chatting, everybody.